There's a moment when everything that you have been avoiding finally catches up to you. And when it does, you don't get to control how it hits. For me, it wasn't just one single thing, it was everything all at once. All the decisions I made, all the things I ignored, and all the emotions that I buried. They didn't just stay hidden, they built up in a glass bottle. And eventually, there was really nowhere left for them to go. And I remember just hitting a point where I had honestly felt overwhelmed. And it wasn't like a little stress or just having a bad day. I mean, completely mentally and emotionally drained. Like, I couldn't keep up with it anymore. Everything just seemed heavier and heavier and heavier on my back. And I didn't know how to fix it. I didn't even know where to start. Because when you let things build up for that long, it's not just one problem anymore. It's layers to it. And each layer has its own weight. And I remember sitting there one day just thinking, how did it get this bad? Because I didn't feel like I made one massive mistake. It was just a series of small ones. But put together, they created something that I simply couldn't ignore anymore. And for the first time, I started realizing something that I didn't want to admit. I wasn't the one in control. Not of my situation, not of my emotions, not even really of myself. And that was a terrifying place to be. Because when you lose that sense of control, you start questioning everything. Who are you? What you're doing? And where your life is going. And I didn't have good answers for any of that. I just had pressure from every direction I looked. Expectations, consequences, internal battles that I wasn't talking about. And for most of my life, I have honestly felt like I was drowning, but was still expected to act like I was fine. And that's exhausting. Sitting there putting on a front all the time while everything inside of you is falling apart. But that's what I did. Because I didn't want people to see it. I didn't want to admit it. I didn't want to face it. So I just kept it in like I always did. But this time, it didn't stay contained. It started showing. In my attitude, in my decisions, in the way that I handled situations. I became more reactive, more impulsive, and I had absolutely no patience for anything. And all of those things only made things worse. Because now I just wasn't dealing with internal pressure. I was creating more problems on top of it. And that's how it started spiraling. One thing leading to another. And before you know it, you're stuck in something that feels bigger than you. I remember having moments where I just shut down completely. I didn't want to talk. I didn't want to think. I didn't want to deal with anything. Just silence. Because silence felt easier than facing everything that was going on. But the silence doesn't fix anything. It honestly just delays the inevitable. And eventually, all the things that you did delay just come back even stronger. And that's what hit me. All of it. At once. And I didn't have anywhere to run. No distraction was strong enough. And no escape that it lasted long enough. It was simply just me and everything I had been avoiding. And in that moment, I had two options. Keep going down the same path, or finally admit that something needed to change. But here's the truth. Just because you realize that doesn't mean you're ready to act on it. And I wasn't. At least not at that moment. Because change requires something that I didn't have in my tool belt at the time. And that was a level of honesty with myself. And I simply wasn't there. I was aware that something was wrong, but I wasn't ready to take responsibility for it. So even after hitting that point, I didn't immediately turn things around. I stayed in it a lot longer than I should have. And that decision led me even deeper into things I wasn't prepared for. Because rock bottom, it's not always a single moment. Sometimes it's a process. And I was still in the middle of it.